of biology. So students, as you all know that we are discussing about biodiversity in living organisms. I told you about 5 different kingdoms, and as you all know that we are discussing about kingdom planting, and I told you that there are 5 groups in kingdom planting. So today we are going to discuss about some of the groups. So first of the group is Thallophyta, which is mainly known as algae. What is algae? The body of algae is undifferentiated. That means it is not divided into roots, stems or leaves. That is why that undifferentiated body is known as thallus, and that is why the name Thallophyta is given to algae. Next thing, what is thallus? Thallus is in the form of tissue mass or fibers. It may be fibers, that is thread-like structure, or maybe mass of tissues. Next thing, what is the habitat of algae? Where should we find algae? So algae is aquatic or semi-aquatic in nature. That means it is present in water and also in moist areas in which a little quantity of water is present. What is the mode of nutrition? So it is autotrophic in nature or photosynthetic. What is autotrophic? Autotrophic means that it can prepare its food on its own. That is why it is known as photosynthetic, and that means if it is photosynthetic, therefore various photosynthetic pigments are present. For example, chlorophyll, rhodophysin, different types of chlorophyll pigments which give color to the plant, that are present in this group, which is algae. Next thing, vascular bundle. Vascular bundle is the important tissue which helps in the conduction of water, minerals and food from one place to another. That forms vascular bundle, but in this case vascular bundle is absent. Vascular bundle is the main characteristic of plants, and some examples of algae are Spirogyra, Eurythrax, Cladophora or Chara, etc. Next group of kingdom plant is bryophytes. What are bryophytes? Bryophytes are also known as amphibians of plant kingdom or non-vascular land plants. Amphibians are those animals which live in both habitat. They live in land as well as in water. They are aquatic and terrestrial in their habitat. So these members are amphibians of plant kingdom. That means they are found in both the habitat in water and in land also. They are also known as non-vascular land plants. In the previous group when we studied algae, we came to know that it is non-vascular, vascular bundles are absent. But in that case, they are present inside the water. They can easily take in water with the help of their surrounding. But in this case, they are present in land. Then also the vascular bundles are absent. Therefore, these are known as amphibians of plant kingdom or non-vascular bundle land plants. Next, what about the body of the bryophyte? So body of bryophyte is green and not well differentiated but quite differentiated in comparison to algae. The stem-like structure and leaves are present in this case. Still, roots are absent, but in the place of roots, rhizoids are present. These rhizoids help in the absorption of water from the soil. And also no specialized tissue, as I told you that non-vascular land plants, and if they are non-vascular, that means the tissues which are helpful in the formation of vascular bundle, that are not present. Xylem and phloem are not present for the conduction of water or food or any other thing. Now let's talk about reproduction in bryophytes. So reproduction is in both the forms. It may be vegetative and also sexual in nature. Fertilization takes place in these plants only in the presence of water. Water, it may be rainwater or it may be in the form of dew. In both cases, fertilization takes place. Some of the examples of this kingdom bryophyte is Rixia, Marchantia, which are known as liverworts, and Furaria sphagnum, which are in the condition of mosses. The third group of kingdom plantae is pteridophytes. What are pteridophytes? Pteridophytes are also known as vascular cryptogams. That means the now vascular bundle are present in this group. These are most primitive and first vascular land plant. I told you that these are non-vascular land plant which were bryophytes, and in the case of pteridophyte, this is the first vascular land plant. That means in the plant in which vascular bundles are present. It is also known as bridge, which acts bridge between bryophytes and gymnosperms. Bryophytes, which were from previous student, and gymnosperm, which is the fourth group of this kingdom, it leaves. Our true roots are present, erect stem is present, and leaves are also present there. The leaves present in this plant are mostly sessile and without petiole. And now embryo formation takes place in this group, but there is no seed formation. That means new plant grow with the help of embryo only. Vegetative reproduction takes place by the help of birds or branches or by gamma-cups, and sexual reproduction takes place by sporophytes. Sporophytes help to produce haploid spores. And now spores when germinate, then they form gametophyte, or which is also known as prothallus. This prothallus produce gametes, and when gametes undergo fertilization, the new plant raised up. And some examples of pteridophytes are Selaginella, Lycopodium, Equisetum, Marsilia, and so on. So students, मैं आपको different kingdoms के बारे में आपको बताया था 5 kingdoms होते हैं. उसमें जो 4th kingdom हम स्टडी कर रहे थे kingdom Plantae के बारे में. Plantae kingdom में different members present होते हैं. 5 different members मैंने आपको बताए थे. Algae, Bryo, Pterido, Gymno and Angiosperm. तो आज हम बात कर रहे हैं Algae की, Bryo की and Pterido की. तो सबसे पहले अगर Algae की बात करें तो Algae को हम Thallophyta भी बोलते हैं. क्यों Thallophyta बोलते हैं? क्योंकि इसकी जो बॉडी होती है अनडिफरेंशिएटेड होती है. अनडिफरेंशिएटेड मींस कि हम इसमें डिफरेंस नहीं कर सकते कि कहाँ पे लीव्स है, कहाँ पे स्टेम है, कहाँ पे रूट्स है. एक थैलस लाइक स्ट्रक्चर होता है, अनडिफरेंशिएटेड बॉडी होती है जिसको हम थैलस बोलते हैं, और इसी थैलस की वजह से इस ग्रुप को नाम मिला है थैलोफाइटा. नाउ थैलस किस फॉर्म में होता है? थैलस टिश्यू मास के फॉर्म में या फिर फाइबर्स के फॉर्म में होता है. फाइबर्स के फॉर्म में दैट इज इन थ्रेड फॉर्म, और मे बी मास ऑफ टिश्यूज के फॉर्म में भी हो सकता है. अगर हैबिटेट की बात करें कि एल्गी हमें कहाँ पे मिलती है, तो एल्गी हमें मिलती है एक्वेटिक और सेमी एक्वेटिक हैबिटेट्स में. एक्वेटिक मींस वाटर में, और सेमी एक्वेटिक मींस मॉइस्ट एरिया जहाँ पे बहुत वाटर नहीं है बट ड्राई भी नहीं है, कुछ अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर प्रेजेंट है, मॉइस्ट कंडीशन है, वहां भी हमें एल्गी मिलती है. अगर न्यूट्रिशन की बात करें कि एल्गी में न्यूट्रिशन क्या है, तो इट इज ऑटोट्रॉफिक. ऑटोट्रॉफिक मींस कि ये अपना फूड खुद से ही प्रिपेयर करते हैं, ये किसी दूसरे ऑर्गेनिज्म पे अपने फूड के लिए डिपेंडेंट नहीं होते हैं. एंड बिकॉज दे आर ऑटोट्रॉफिक, दैट इज व्हाई दे आर आल्सो नोन एज फोटोसिंथेटिक, क्योंकि फोटोसिंथेसिस के प्रोसेस से ही ऑटोट्रॉफिक मोड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन होता है. अब क्योंकि ये फोटोसिंथेटिक है, दैट मींस कि इसमें डिफरेंट फोटोसिंथेटिक पिगमेंट्स प्रेजेंट है. फॉर एग्जांपल क्लोरोफिल, इस टाइप के पिगमेंट्स इसमें प्रेजेंट होते हैं. जैसे कि हम वेस्कुलर बंडल की बात करें, वेस्कुलर बंडल जिनका फॉर्मेशन होता है जाइलम से एंड फ्लोएम से. जाइलम जो आपको पता है हेल्प करता है कंडक्शन ऑफ वाटर एंड मिनरल्स में, वो रूट से लेके लीव्स तक वाटर को लेके जाता है. फोटोसिंथेसिस के प्रोसेस में वाटर के साथ साथ मिनरल्स का भी अपटेक होता है, वो जाइलम होता है. फ्लोएम जो फूड में प्रिपेयर फूड को डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ द प्लांट तक पहुंचाता है, वो फ्लोएम होता है. ये फ्लोएम और जाइलम के कॉम्बिनेशन से वेस्कुलर बंडल का फॉर्मेशन होता है, जो चीजों को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह कंडक्ट करने में, ट्रांसपोर्ट करने में हेल्प करते हैं. ये वेस्कुलर बंडल्स एल्गी में एब्सेंट होते हैं. इसमें कोई भी वेस्कुलर बंडल प्रेजेंट नहीं होता, कोई भी स्पेशलाइज्ड टिश्यू प्रेजेंट नहीं होता. कुछ अगर इंपॉर्टेंट एग्जांपल्स की बात करें, स्पॉट एल्गी की बात करें, स्पाइरोगारा, यूरोथ्रिक्स, क्लैडोफोरा, कारा, ये सब कुछ एल्गी के नेम है. सेकेंड जो हमारा ग्रुप है वो है ब्रायोफाइट्स. ब्रायोफाइट्स को हम एम्फीबियंस ऑफ प्लांट किंगडम भी बोलते हैं या फिर नॉन वेस्कुलर लैंड प्लांट भी बोलते हैं. एम्फीबियंस कौन होते हैं? एम्फीबियंस वो एनिमल्स होते हैं जो लैंड में भी रहते हैं एंड वाटर में भी रहते हैं. और यहाँ पे जब हम इनको एम्फीबियंस बोल रहे हैं प्लांट किंगडम का, दैट मींस हम इनको लैंड में भी फाइंड कर सकते हैं और हम इनको वाटर में भी फाइंड कर सकते हैं. इसके अलावा नॉन वेस्कुलर प्लांट्स होते हैं, दैट मींस कि इसमें भी वेस्कुलर बंडल प्रेजेंट नहीं होता, इसमें भी जाइलम एंड फ्लोएम की एब्सेंस होती है. बट इसके अगर बॉडी की बात करें, इसकी बॉडी ग्रीन होती है, ऑल्सो बहुत प्रॉपरली डिफरेंशिएटेड नहीं होती है बट अनडिफरेंशिएटेड भी नहीं होती. इसमें तो हम कुछ भी नहीं पता कर पाते कि कहाँ रूट है, कहाँ स्टेम है, कहाँ लीव्स है, जैसे थैलस था. बट इन दिस केस स्टेम लाइक स्ट्रक्चर और लीव्स हमको इसमें समझ में आती है. स्टेम और लीव्स का डिफरेंशिएशन होता है. स्टिल रूट्स जो है वो एब्सेंट होती है, बट रूट्स की जगह पे राइजोइड्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं. राइजोइड्स क्या करते हैं? जो रूट्स का काम होता है जंक्शन ऑफ वाटर का, सिमिलर वही काम इस केस में राइजोइड्स करते हैं. इसमें भी कोई स्पेशलाइज्ड टिश्यू नहीं होता क्योंकि नॉन वेस्कुलर प्लांट में जाइलम फ्लोएम नहीं होता कंडक्शन ऑफ वाटर एंड मिनरल्स के लिए. अगर हम रिप्रोडक्शन की बात करें तो रिप्रोडक्शन दोनों प्रोसेस होता है, वेजिटेटिव भी होता है, सेक्सुअल भी होता है. दोनों के बारे में हम आगे डिस्कस करेंगे वेजिटेटिव मीन्स की प्लांट के ही किसी पार्ट से रिप्रोड्यूस हो जाता है, और सेक्सुअल मीन्स की उसमें मेल एंड फीमेल दोनों प्लांट्स की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है। अगर हम फर्टिलाइजेशन की बात करें कि प्लांट फर्टिलाइज किन कंडीशन में होता है, तो वाटर के प्रेजेंस में प्लांट फर्टिलाइज होता है। वाटर के प्रेजेंस में कैसे, रेन वाटर हो या फिर ड्यू मतलब कि ओस वाला वाटर हो, दोनों ही कंडीशन से वाटर से ये प्लांट फर्टिलाइज हो जाते हैं। कुछ एग्जांपल्स के रिक्शिया, मार्केशिया जो लिवरवर्ट्स होते हैं, एंड स्फेग्नम जिसको मॉसेस भी कहते हैं। जो थर्ड हमारा ग्रुप है दैट इज टेरिडोफाइट्स। टेरिडोफाइट्स को वेस्कुलर क्रिप्टोगैम्स भी कहते हैं। नाउ अभी तक हमें जितने भी दो हमने ग्रुप्स पढ़े इन दोनों में वेस्कुलर बंडल प्रेजेंट नहीं था, बट नाउ इन दिस केस वेस्कुलर बंडल्स आर प्रेजेंट, दैट इज व्हाई दीज आर नोन एज वेस्कुलर क्रिप्टोगैम्स। ये सबसे प्रिमिटिव प्लांट्स है, सबसे पुराने हमको मिल जाता है। क्यों? क्योंकि ये फर्स्ट वेस्कुलर लैंड प्लांट्स है। अभी तक हमने लैंड प्लांट पर पहला तो ये एक्वेटिक हैबिटेट में था, सेकेंड हमारा लैंड में आया तो इसमें नॉन वेस्कुलर नहीं था, अब ये हमारे फर्स्ट वेस्कुलर लैंड प्लांट है। इनको हम ब्रिज भी बोलते हैं। ब्रिज मींस जो दो चीजों को जोड़ता है, तो किसको जोड़ते हैं, ब्रायोफाइट्स एंड जिम्नोस्पर्म को। ब्रायोफाइट जिसके बारे में हम पढ़ चुके हैं, जिम्नोस्पर्म इसके बाद वाला ग्रुप है। ये दोनों ग्रुप के बीच में एज अ ब्रिज एक्ट करता है। अगर बॉडी की बात करें, बॉडी स्पोरोफिटिक होती है एंड डिप्लॉयड होती है। सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इसकी कि अभी तक हम प्लांट्स को डिफरेंशिएट नहीं कर पाए थे। ये थैलस था, इसमें स्टेम और लीव्स हमको दिखी थी, बट रूट्स अभी भी प्रेजेंट नहीं थी। बट ये फर्स्ट लैंड प्लांट है जिसमें तीनों चीजें प्रॉपर्ली प्रेजेंट है। ट्रू रूट्स भी होती है, एरेक्ट स्टेम भी होती है एंड लीव्स भी होती है। लीव्स इसमें सेसाइल कंडीशन में होती है, विदाउट पेड्यूल प्रेजेंट होती है। इस केस में एम्ब्रियो का फॉर्मेशन होता है, बट सीड का कोई भी फॉर्मेशन नहीं होता। मतलब ब्रायोफाइट्स में हमें भी सीड नहीं मिलेगी कि सीड से प्लांट हो गया, जस्ट उसमें एम्ब्रियो का फॉर्मेशन होता है। वेजिटेटिव रिप्रोडक्शन भी होता है। वेजिटेटिव रिप्रोडक्शन कैसे होता है, बडिंग के थ्रू, बड्स के द्वारा या फिर ब्रांचेस के थ्रू भी वेजिटेटिव रिप्रोडक्शन पॉसिबल है। सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन मैंने आपको बताया कि एम्ब्रियो का फॉर्मेशन होता है, तो एम्ब्रियो के फॉर्मेशन के स्पोरोफाइट्स प्रोड्यूस करते हैं हैप्लॉइड स्पोर्स को। स्पोरोफाइट्स जो कि पार्ट है इसका, उससे हैप्लॉइड स्पोर्स प्रोड्यूस होते हैं। ये स्पोर्स का जर्मिनेट होते हैं। जब ये स्पोर्स जर्मिनेट होते हैं तो इनसे गैमेटोफाइट का फॉर्मेशन होता है, जिनको प्रोथैलस भी बोलते हैं। ये गैमेटोफाइट है, ये प्रोथैलस प्रोड्यूस करते हैं गैमीट्स को। ऐसे वालों की गैमीट्स जो है उसी से फॉर्मेशन होता है न्यू प्लांट्स का। तो जब ये गैमीट्स फर्टिलाइज हो जाते हैं तो उनसे न्यू प्लांट का फॉर्मेशन होता है। एक बार फिर से इस बात को समझेंगे। स्पोरोफाइट की हेल्प से हमें स्पोर्स मिलते हैं जो कि हैप्लॉइड होते हैं। हैप्लॉइड मीन्स ठीक, इन हैप्लॉइड स्पोर्स का जब जर्मिनेशन होता है, जब ये जर्मिनेट होते हैं, इनके जर्मिनेट होने से जो है यहाँ पे गैमेटोफाइट का फॉर्मेशन होता है। ये गैमेटोफाइट को हम प्रोथैलस भी बोलते हैं। गैमेटोफाइट जिसको प्रोथैलस भी हम कह सकते हैं। नाउ जब ये गैमेटोफाइट आगे प्रोड्यूस करता है गैमीट्स को, गैमेटोफाइट्स प्रोड्यूस गैमीट्स, और जब गैमीट्स में फर्टिलाइजेशन का प्रोसेस होता है, फर्टिलाइज करते हैं गैमीट्स इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ वाटर, वेदर इट इज गैमीट्स जब फर्टिलाइज करते हैं तब इससे न्यू प्लांट जो है वो रिप्रोड्यूस होता है। इसका थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट आपको रिप्रोडक्शन समझ में आएगा। सबसे पहले स्पोरोफाइट से स्पोर्स का फॉर्मेशन होगा। स्पोर्स जो हैप्लॉइड इन नेचर होंगे। स्पोर्स जब जर्मिनेट करेंगे तब उससे गैमेटोफाइट फॉर्म होगा, और जब गैमेटोफाइट जो है ये प्रोड्यूस करेगा गैमीट्स को। गैमीट्स का जब फर्टिलाइजेशन होगा तब उससे न्यू प्लांट रिप्रोड्यूस होगा। ये इसके रिप्रोडक्शन के बारे में, जो सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन। और अगर कुछ एग्जांपल्स की बात करें तो सेलेजिनेला, लाइकोपोडियम, एक्विसेटम एंड मार्सिलिया आर सम ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ bryophytes. So students, that's all for today. Thank you.
Good morning class. Today the topic is types of computer. So now we understand what are the types of computer. The first type is microcomputer, the second is mini computer, the third is mainframe computer, and the fourth is supercomputer. Firstly, we understand about microcomputers. Microcomputers are used in our homes, in offices, and in every field of life. It is based on a single chip microprocessor, means having only a small microprocessor which can work in different ways. They include desktop. You see which computer put on a table known as desktop, and nowadays we use some other computers like rake mount having the screen 19-inch, and there is a KVM switch to gain the console access, and there are other computers in microcomputers like notebook, laptop, PC, pocket PC, smartphones, PDA, tablets, palm top, and programmable calculators. So these are very essential, and these computers are used in every field of life. Microcomputer is very small, so you can easily manage it and take in any time and anywhere. The next one is mini computers. They are multi-user system, so they are used in large companies. You know, it is also known as mid-range computers. They are class of multi-user. They have more powerful than microcomputers, and we work on Linux in that systems. They are used in business, laboratories, hospitals, CAT scanners, and we use more terminals in mini computers. So there is example of PDP-11 and IBM series, which is the example of mini computer. It works on 16-bit, 32-bit and 64 bits. The next one is mainframe computer. What is mainframe computer? They are more powerful than microcomputer and mini computer. They are more powerful than microcomputer and mini computer. So mainframe computers are also multi-user systems, and it can run multiple programs at a time. So multi-programming system also. They are capable handling large amount of data, and they are used in banks, in government sectors, and where there is a requirement of server, they are used as a server in the hospitals and in the banks. And you know, the speed of mainframe computer is best than microcomputer and mini computers, and we measure the speed of mainframe computers in MIPS, means million instructions per second. The next one is supercomputers. You all know about supercomputers. You know about bullet trains. You know about other things like missile. So all the things are very useful, and you know, the supercomputer is also known as fault tolerance computer, means a supercomputer can never get error, because supercomputer have many processors, and many processors work simultaneously, used in weather forecasting, fluid dynamics and scientific applications. And robotics, supercomputers are used. The speed of supercomputer measures in flops, and it is multi-programming, multitasking and batch processing operating system. So they can used as a server, and there are a lot of information, a bulky information we can store. So these are the category of digital computers where you understand microcomputer, mini computer, mainframe computer and supercomputer, and know about the microcomputer, mini computer, mainframe computer and supercomputer. The properties of microcomputer is it is based on single chip microprocessor including desktop, rack mount. The screen is 19-inch, means racks are 19-inch, KVM switch to gain the console access. And you see the in cars we use computers, that is car computers, and there is game console, laptops, notebook, pocket PC, smartphones, PDA, palm top, all the things which are created based on single chip, that is microcomputers. They are used in offices, they are used in schools, they are used in every place of life. And mini computers, they are multi-user computers. They are used in company where a lot of user can work. We work on Linux operating system, and mini computers are very useful and they have more terminals than one. So the example of mini computers are PDP second and IBM series. They can work on 16-bit, 32-bit and 64-bit. Then we understand mainframe computers. They are multi-user system capable of handling large amount of data used in banks, government sectors, and we measure the speed in MIPS, that is million instruction per second. The next one, supercomputers known as fault tolerance computer. Supercomputers are used in weather forecasting, fluid dynamics, scientific applications. Speed measures in flask. They are multi-processing, multi-user and batch processing system, so they can used as a server, and there is no mistake because multiple processor work simultaneously. Thank you, class.
Hello, my dear student. Have a wonderful morning to one you all. I welcome you on a video lecture class. Students, in our previous lecture class, we have completed the first chapter of English literature. That was The Fun They Had. The first chapter, The Fun They Had, written by Isaac Asimov. It was completely completed. And I also discussed with you the gist of that chapter, the central theme of that chapter, and some question answer, short question answer and value based question answer and long answer. I just discussed with you, and you will get the type note of these question answer. So after completing that chapter, we will start our language portion, and in language portion, the first and prominent topic, that is your parts of speech. Parts of speech is very familiar topic to you. It's not new one for you. So student, in English language, parts of speech are a very significant part, and it plays an important role to come to know the proper structure of the sentence. If we want to come to know the proper structure of the sentence, we must know parts of speech. We can say parts of speech are the soul of English language. Without knowing it very well, we cannot know the proper arrangement of the sentence. We can only come to know the proper arrangement of sentence if we have thoroughly knowledge of parts of speech. It really plays an unique role in making the proper arrangement of the sentence, and if we want to come to know the name of the words that we put in framing the sentence, which type of the words are they, if you want to come to know the name of the particular words, so we have to know what is parts of speech. It means to say that before starting English language, before starting English grammar, the first and foremost thing is that we must know parts of speech. It's a foundation of the English language. It's the thing that you have it very well. If you don't have any idea about parts of the speech, you cannot do the proper arrangement of sentence. You cannot come to know which word is this, and you cannot change the verb into adjective and the adjective into noun like this. So student, we will start today and you have to pay proper attention because this is very important for you, it's very significant for you. So student, I told you what's parts of speech. By parts of speech, we come to know the proper arrangement of the sentence, the proper structure of the sentence, and the thing is that we come to know the basically when we write any sentence, in the sentence we put some words 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 according to the length of the sentence. If the sentence is so long, we put so many words. But if we want to come to know the proper name of those words, so how can we come to know? I'm just writing here a sentence, so it will be clear to you. Suppose that there is a sentence. Anjali is not paying attention. Anjali is not paying attention in class. Okay, so this one is sentence before you, and if I tell you, if I ask you that do the operation of this sentence, tell me the name of the words which are written in the sentence, so how will you come to know? How will you tell me? If I ask you, tell me the name of the particular words which are written in the sentence, so how will you come to know? Anjali, what is Anjali here? I think you know this one, but I'm just asking you. Anjali and is, what is not, what is paying, what is attention, what is in, and what is class. So you are seeing here that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words are there, and group of words. This is the group of words, and group of words is arranged in a proper order, and it gives a meaningful sense. That's why it's called a sentence, because a sentence must be given a meaningful sense. Without meaningful sense, a sentence is not completed. So how will you come to know? So we come to know this thing, the proper name of the particular words, which are written in a sentence. We will come to know only knowing parts of speech. So student, we will study parts of speech today. That's very important topic, I told you. So the first and foremost thing is that how many parts of speech are there? How many parts of speech? So I hope so that you know very well. These are 18 number. The first one is a noun. These are 18 number. That is very common. Noun. This is very common. And second one is your pronoun. That one. Pronoun. Fine. And the third one is your adjective. Fine. Third is your adjective. And the fourth one is your verb. Fine. The fifth one is your adverb. Fine. And the sixth one is your preposition. Okay. And the seventh one is conjunction. Fine. And the last one, that is number 8, this is your interjection. That is your interjection. So everyone look at the board. These 8 numbers or parts of speech are written over here. The first one is noun, second one is pronoun, third is adjective, and fourth one is your verb, fifth is your adverb, and preposition, conjunction, and interjection. These are 8 in number. So first today we will take the first one, that is the noun. Everyone knows what is noun. Everyone knows what is noun. Noun, the simple and very easy definition is that noun is the name of any person, place, or thing. Noun is the name of any person, place, or thing. you can say nouns are the naming words. Nouns are the naming words. Whatever the things, or all types of the things which are presented in all over the world, these are in the category of the noun. And the name of the person, all the name of the person who are presented in all over the world, these are in the category of the noun. And the name of the places which are presented in all over the world, these are also in the category of the noun. So three things are there: name of the person, name of the place, and name of the things. So in a brief way, in a concise way, we can say that nouns are naming words. If we give any name of anything, if we give any name of anything, suppose that there is a book. There is a book. I am having a book on my hand. That one is book. So I gave, this is a type of the thing. I gave a name to this one. So I gave a name to this thing. This is a book. So what is book? Book is a noun, because it's a thing. It's a name of anything. So it's a noun. Fine. And many things. Just suppose that this is another thing, my hand. So I just give a name to that one. So this is a duster. So duster is also a noun. So I'm just telling you that whatever the things, each and every type of the things which are pervading in all over the world, which are presented in all over the world, these are in the category of the noun. It means to say anything cannot be called except noun. Everything is noun. Fine. And I'll teach you only the superficial part of the noun, because you will know what are the kinds of noun. What are the kinds of the noun? I'm just giving you a glimpse of that, because you have to only know the parts of speech. Simple thing is that you have to know the parts of speech, because it's very broad. If we go into deep the noun, so it will really very extra burden upon your shoulder, and you will not study it. So what is noun and the kinds of noun I'll teach you today. So proper noun, these are 5 in number: proper noun, common noun, material noun, abstract noun, and collective noun. These are 5 in number. Proper noun is a particular name of person, place, or thing. Particular name. If you take the name of your teacher, if you take a name of your teacher, so just like Mr. Sharma, Mrs. Mishra, like this. So this is the particular name of person. So this is your proper noun. If we take a name of particular place, suppose that you live in Kanpur at Nobasta, so this is a particular name of place. So this is a proper noun. And thing, suppose that I'm having a book on my hand. This one. So the book is your common noun, but the English reader, advanced English reader book. So the name of the book specify it. It specifies the book. It means it's a proper noun. When we points out something particular thing, when we individualizes something, so that is the proper noun. Fine. So proper noun is that type of the thing. And common noun means common name of person, place, or thing. Just like students, boys, girls, cities, countries, like this. It's a common thing. It's not individual thing. It's not particular thing. It's not a spatial thing. Fine. And material noun means such type of the noun that such type of the noun in which substance and phenomenon come, just like material that we use to make something new, just like curd, milk, and we can also take some materials like oil and copper, gold, silver. So these are the things that we use to make something new, to make something another thing. So these are in the category of the material noun. And the fourth one is your collective noun. The fourth one is your collective noun. So collective noun means a collective, it's an adjective, and a collection, it's a noun. So how you come to know these things? If you have proper knowledge of parts of speech, so in an easy way you will come to know what is your noun, what is your adjective, what is your adverb, and what's your preposition, what's your conjunction, and what's your interjection. You need not to bother that how will you come to know this thing. So student, collective noun. Collective noun is a collection of things, just like very simple example for you class. Whenever you sit Whenever only one student is there, that is not the class. Class means a collection of a group of some student. A group of some student is called a class. A group of soldiers is called army. Like this, a group of member is called committee. Like this, a bunch of grapes. Like this. So student, you have seen whenever the things are in a collective form, whenever the things are in a collection, so that is called the collective noun. The last one is left, the abstract noun. The abstract noun are such type of the noun that we cannot touch, that we cannot see, but we can only feel that. So the very live example for you, whenever you sit in the class, so you can count different types of the abstract noun by your surroundings. Whenever you see, so whenever you are sitting in the class, so how many types of the abstract nouns are there? Suppose that you are sitting in a class and you are studying, the teacher is teaching you and you are sitting. So at that time, what you see? Suppose that you are not paying attention in the class. You are not attentive in the class. So at that time, teacher points you out. By throwing a chalk on your shoulder, on your head, and he just said to you, just pay attention towards your class. So at that time, what is the word? Attention. Attentive is a word. You must be attentive in the class. Attentive is your adjective, but the attention. What is attention? That is the concentration. You cannot touch it. You cannot see it, but you can feel it. So this is your noun. And one more example, that some boy is very intelligent, some boy is very foolish. So if someone is intelligent, it means that person has intelligence in himself or herself. It means that person has intelligence on himself or herself. So it means to say intelligence. Intelligence is abstract noun because you cannot touch it, you cannot see it, but you can only feel the presence of that into your body. You can feel the presence of that thing into your body. That is your abstract noun. Suppose that your class is very long, your class is very high, and your class is very wide. These three things are used for the structure of the class. So wide. What is wide? This is your adjective. High. This is your adjective, and long. This is your adjective. But what are the abstract noun of all these things? The abstract noun of all these things are long, length, wide, width, and height. So these are the abstract nouns. So you have come to know the noun, and the remaining parts, say 7 remaining parts are here. So we will discuss them in our next class, and I hope so that you have got very well. That's enough for you today. Thank you, and have a nice day to you all.
Hello students, today I will teach you the chapter is force and law of motion. Before I teach you first law of motion, now today I teach you Newton's second law of motion. Now before you should know what is momentum. What is momentum? Momentum, when the objects have a mass. Now this is state of moving position. Now M and V. This object has both mass and velocity. Now mass and velocity product is called momentum. Now what is momentum? The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. What is momentum? In this time, momentum, this definition is not Newton's second law of motion. Now, this definition is momentum. Now, what is momentum? The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. It is denoted by symbol P. Now, what is momentum? What is momentum? The momentum of an object. The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and its velocity. Now it is denoted by symbol P. This formula, momentum is equal to mass and to velocity according to definition. Mass, velocity, product is equal to momentum. Now momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Now P is equal to mv, where m is mass, v is velocity, v is momentum. Now momentum, this is vector quantity. This is vector quantity. Now this is vector quantity. Now it has both the direction and magnitude. I repeat this definition. Momentum. The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. It is denoted by P. When the object moving in the surface now of velocity of the object. Now the object have a mass m with velocity v. Then it has a momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Now it is denoted by symbol P. The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. The momentum of an object. The momentum of an object. The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. The momentum of an object is defined as the product its mass and velocity. It is denoted by P. This formula, momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Where is mass m? Where is velocity v? Where is momentum p? P is equal to m into v. This momentum is vector quantity because it has both the direction and magnitude. Therefore, is called vector quantity. Its unit is unit of momentum. Unit of momentum. Unit of momentum. According to formula, unit of mass kg and sin into, then unit of velocity meter per second. Now the unit of momentum kilogram meter per second in SI unit is in series in MAS. Now in CGS according to formula. The unit of mass in CGS gram. The unit of mass, the unit of velocity in CGS centimeter per second. Kilogram meter per second in MKS, gram centimeter per second in CGS. Both unit of momentum. Both unit of momentum. Now today heading is Newton's second law of motion. This heading I will teach you, but before know you what is momentum, then I will teach you before the momentum. What is momentum? The momentum of an object is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. It is denoted by symbol A. Its formula is momentum is equal to mass into velocity. P is equal to m into v. The momentum is vector quantity because it has both the direction and magnitude, because it is called, therefore it is called momentum. The unit of momentum in MKS is CGS. In MKS, kilogram meter per second, and CGS, gram centimeter per second. Now, then in this term, Newton's second law of motion. Note this. Now, next heading, Newton's second law of motion. Before doing what is momentum, then very simply understand the Newton's second law of motion, because you know the momentum, you know the momentum in last heading. Now, Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum, the rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional. Momentum of an object, the rate of change of momentum, the rate of change of momentum directly, the rate of change momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of object. Now, second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum of an object. The rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the unbalanced force of direction of object. Now the rate of momentum directly proportional to unbalanced force, the direction of the object. Now, the rate of momentum delta P by T directly proportional to symbol F. Unbalanced force is F. Now, where hence F is equal to ma, then delta P. Now, unbalanced force. What is unbalanced force? Depend on mass and velocity and acceleration and time. Now, the force is equal to mass and V minus U upon T. Now, delta P upon T directly proportional to m V minus U upon T. Now, I repeat this. Then, what is second law of motion? The rate of change of momentum. The rate of change of motion. The rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the unbalanced force in the direction of the object. Now, the rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of the object. Now, according to definition, the rate of momentum directly proportional unbalanced force. Where rate of change momentum delta P upon T directly proportional to symbol F, where F m bracket V minus U bracket close by T, then delta P by T directly proportional to the value put on the place of F. Now, m V minus U by T. Now, according to definition of Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum directly proportional unbalanced force. Now, the rate of change of momentum is delta P by T. The absolute proportional unbalanced force depend on mass. A change in velocity V minus U by T, where acceleration is equal to rate of change of velocity V minus U by T. Now, next line is delta P by T directly proportional M into A. Now, where the force is equal to directly proportional delta P by T. Now, F is equal F directly proportional M into A. If the remove is sign, now F is equal to K M A. Now F is equal to K M A, where K is a constant, where K is a constant value. Now K is equal to 1. Then
Hello students, myself Anand Saini, I am your chemistry tutor. Let's start to learn chemistry. Students, we are discussing about our topic, and the topic is separation of the components from the mixture. Yes, exactly. In the last video lecture, we are discussing about the definition of the separation and also seeing activity. The activity is our very first activity. We are discussing, we are trying in the last video lecture, and that is, what is this? Any idea? You remember? Yes, that is separation of dyes from the ink. Now in this class, in this video lecture, we are discussing about a new activity. We are trying to new activity, that is separation of the cream from the milk. So let's start. What is the process? What is this activity? Okay, so let's start. एक्चुअली आप लोगों ने देखा होगा, एक्चुअली हम लोगों के घर का ये प्रोसेस है। घर पे आपने देखा होगा कि मम्मी लोग, या गाँवों में आपने देखा होगा जब आप विलेज से आते हैं अपने ना, वहाँ पर आपने देखा होगा कि गार्जियंस हमारे यहाँ क्या करते हैं, वो एक बटर बनाने का प्रोसेस रहता है, मक्खन बनाने का प्रोसेस होता है। क्या करते हैं, उसमें जो मिल्क रहता है, उस मिल्क का क्रीमी पार्ट निकाला जाता है। उसको आपने क्या करना होता है, मम्मी लोग क्या करती है कि वो जो मथानी यूज़ करती हैं, मथानी, और आप उसका जो क्रीम रहता है, उसका मलाई रहता है मिल्क का, उस मलाई को क्या करते हैं, उसमें मिक्सर में डाल करके, अदरवाइज मथानी से यूज़ करके उसको क्रंच किया जाता है। दैट इज अ क्रंचिंग ऑफ मिल्क, ठीक है ना, लैस्टिफिकेशन ऑफ द मिल्क ऑल्सो। तो वो जो प्रोसेस रहता है लैस्टिफिकेशन का, उस प्रोसेस को हम लोग लैस्टिफिकेट जब करते हैं तो आफ्टर द लैस्टिफिकेशन वहाँ से आपका क्रीमी पार्ट अलग हो जाता है और जो आपका लिक्विड पार्ट होता है वो आपका अलग हो जाता है। एग्जैक्टली यही तो करना होता है ना। तो वहाँ से जो क्रीम निकलने वाला जो प्रोसेस रहता है ना, उसी प्रोसेस का डिस्कशन आज हम लोग को करना होगा इस आज की एक्टिविटी में। ये जनरल एक्टिविटी है, आप लोग अपने घर पे भी देखते हैं, एग्जैक्टली वही वाली एक्टिविटी है। सो हमें क्या क्या ज़रूरत पड़ने वाली है अपनी इस एक्टिविटी के लिए। सो व्हाट इज नीड? सो only two things, actually three things. The first thing is test tube, another thing is the centrifugal machine, और mixer is also used in this process. Centrifugal machine भी आप यूज़ कर सकते हैं, अदरवाइज वो जो घर में आपका मिक्सी यूज़ होता है वही यूज़ कर लीजिए। एंड द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, द पॉइंट नंबर थर्ड इज मिल्क, and the too much compulsory, the milk which is we use, that is full cream milk। जो हमें मिल्क यूज़ करना है कैसा होना चाहिए, हमारे पास में फुल क्रीम मिल्क होना चाहिए, दैट इज द कंपल्सरी। गॉट इट? तो बस आपको करना क्या है, वही जो घर में आप प्रोसेस करते हैं ना, वही वाला आपको प्रोसेस करना है। ओके, सो लेट्स स्टार्ट। वी आर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट द वर्किंग प्रोसेस। सो वर्किंग इन अ टेस्ट ट्यूब, फर्स्टली we take a test tube in which is filled with the full cream milk. We take a test tube filled with full cream milk, that is underline full cream milk. Okay, so full cream milk, we use full cream milk and it is lactificated by the centrifugal machine or mixer. When the process of elasticification is completed, the process of elasticification, that is the crunching of the milk also known as, is completed, then we are look what is the actually in this process we are looking after the elasticification, we are looking that the creamy part is separated from the milk. Why? What is this? So what is the result? So exactly the result is this of activity, the creamy part are lighter than the milk. That's why separated from the milk, and also known as the milk is obtained by two things, two components, that is the liquid part and the cream. Okay, this is the main motto of this activity. So now we are discussing about new activity, that is the activity number 3rd. Okay. Okay students, the activity number 3rd is separation of two immiscible liquids. So what is this? Two immiscible liquids like kerosene and water. Okay, so here comes, we have a mixture which is obtained by two components, one is kerosene and another is water. Okay, so with the help of separating funnel we are separate out water with kerosene. How can? So let's start this experiment or activity. In this experiment we are trying to separation of these components of the mixture. So let's start. How can we are done this experiment? So we have a separating funnel which is filled with the kerosene, which is filled with the mixture of kerosene and the water. We left it for a few minutes. After some time, we are looking. Here comes two layers are obtained. Like first one is the kerosene and another layer is water. So with the help of stopcock, when it is opened, then the water layer is separated out from the kerosene. Okay, so again it is closed, the kerosene oil is left into the funnel. So that's why the separation process is completed. Water is taken out another beaker and also kerosene oil is taken in another beaker. So what is the result of this experiment? Actually what is this? हाँ क्या किया हमने ये separation तो आपको भी पता है, with the help of separation funnel बड़ा easily हम लोगों ने अलग किया ना. तो what is this? Yes, exactly what is this? What's the means of this experiment? What is the result? Actually the result is, if you have two immiscible liquids, so for the separation actually they are separated by their density into various different type of layer form. Got it? बोल रहे हैं आपसे कि आपके पास में अगर टू immiscible liquids हैं जो आपस में मिक्स नहीं होते हैं, तो उन्हें आपने अगर अलग करना है और वो अलग होते हैं तो वो कैसे अलग होते हैं? The result is they are separated by their different density into different layer. कह रहे हैं कि वो जो लिक्विड्स हैं उन लिक्विड का अलग अलग लेयर बन जाता है on the behalf of their density. Okay, on the behalf of their density उन लिक्विड्स का अलग अलग लेयर बन जाता है, उनको हम लोग अलग कर देते हैं. This is a simple one. Okay, so today's class is completed. Thank you.